Hi there, my magical star beings. This is Psychic Siren Tarot, and welcome back to the channel. In today's reading, we're going to be taking a look at your demure and mindful qualities. So this demure and mindful kind of thing started on TikTok and was a trend created by a creator. And since it's, going around on the internet so much, I thought, why not do a reading on this? So if you didn't know what demure and mindful is, it basically means modest, reserved, or shy while being aware or conscious of something. So that represents someone that is politely and subtly aware of their actions and presentation, often implying a quiet and respectful demeanor. So we're going to look into why you are this way. So we have 3 piles to choose from. For pile number 1, we have the shell. For pile number 2, we have amethyst. And for pile number 3, we have rose quartz. So take a look at all 3 piles here and choose based on your intuition which one's calling to you the most. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to pick a pile. So once you're done picking a pile, please find the timestamps for your pile in the description box below, and then I'll see you at your reading. Hi there, my pile number ones. If you chose this shell and this card, then this is your reading. We're going to be taking a look at your demure and mindful qualities. So please be aware that this is a general reading. Only take or resonate, leave the rest. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, then please find my email address in the description box below. Your card says Star Brothers with Horus energy, protection, loyalty, safety, and trust. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle your tarot cards first. Then after that, we'll take a look at your oracle cards. Okay, so as I shuffle your cards, I'm hearing that some people see you as that girl, that boy. Like, maybe for some of you, you're the type to wake up early in the morning, get things done. Maybe you're like a morning bird. Or maybe you're the type of person that seems very put together in a way. Like you seem like you have your life together. You seem like you've achieved something well for yourself. You seem quite organized and you seem like you have structure, routine, and stability within your life in some way. And so people see you as someone inspirational in a way, someone they look up to in a way, like where they want to be more like you and have a routine for themselves and get things ticked off their to-do list and kind of just get their life together like they perceive you to be. And now some of you may look at this and be like, oh, I don't feel like my life is that together, but perhaps this is other people looking into your life. So let's see, what are your demure and mindful traits? Spirit guides of pile 1, please show me the demure and mindful traits. We have the Knight of Pentacles. So the Knight of Pentacles can talk about consistency. And since we spoke about you having your life together in some way, I think that you're very consistent when it comes to your goals, when it comes to keeping your home clean and beautiful, when it comes to your health journey. Whatever it is you are working towards, you're consistent towards it. Even if you're not doing it literally every single day, you are ticking things off your to-do list multiple times a week. You're consistent when it comes to your work, when it comes to people around you as well. It's not like you're just switching up and changing on people. People know that, okay, this is pile number 1. I'm not going to be surprised in a bad way of like, you're not unpredictable in a bad way, if that makes sense. In fact, I feel like you're very predictable, but in a good way where people feel safe around you and they feel safe knowing that they can trust you, knowing that you're that same loyal person and you're not just going to switch up and change on them. Where you're one day like acting this way, the next day acting the complete opposite. And so that's what I see there. Because of your consistency in the way you approach situations with people, people know they can trust you based off the character traits they've seen within you, and they've seen you show that consistently. Okay, show me more, Spirit. We have the Sun. Okay. We have the Ace of Cups reversed. And we have the Seven of Pentacles reversed. At the back of the deck so far, we have the Four of Swords. So you definitely like make people feel safe and calm and at ease in your presence. That's part of your demure and mindful qualities. But I also feel like you're someone that's very chilled and laid back yourself. You find ways to de-stress, and you find ways to kind of like relax after all this work you've put in. So that's another demure and mindful quality or trait you have with the Seven of Pentacles reversed. You know when to put the to-do list down. You know when to put the work down. You know when to pour into you. And you know how to have balance there. It's not like you're in one extreme where you're working super hard and you're burning yourself out, or in the other extreme where you don't get anything done with your life. You have that middle balance. And although we don't see the Two of Pentacles here, I'm getting that this is a very balanced pile. Okay, I'm getting that you know how to find inner peace. You know how to take time out for yourself if you really need it. You know how to rest and do self-care. And that is part of your demure and mindful qualities. Some of you are even focusing on your health and your well-being, mentally, emotionally, physically. And you're making sure you're putting in the work there, but you're also making sure that you're listening to your body and giving your body what it needs, nutritionally, but also energetically. And there is this feeling here of looking at our sleep health. So maybe a lot of you are trying to better your sleep or improve your sleep in some type of way. Or you're trying to de-stress more, worry less, be more in the present moment, be full of gratitude with the sun, and be more optimistic towards life. Or you've always been that way, and that's what makes you demure and mindful. Or you are working on that, and that's what makes you demure and mindful, because even though you're not like that fully, you are working on becoming like that, if that makes sense. With the sun, you're someone that embraces the joy, the happiness within each day. You embrace the little things that make you happy, if that makes sense. And I feel like you really learned how to enjoy the present moment, to stop and smell the roses, to almost just feel pleasure in your daily life from little things that bring you joy, like I said before. With the Ace of Cups reversed, perhaps a lot of you are not looking for love right now. Perhaps a lot of you are looking to stay single, to focus on your career, focus on yourself, your own independence, and you kind of just don't need a man or woman right now. You're just focused on you, and that makes you very demure and mindful in some way. I also get this energy of someone that may be a little bit conservative or modest within the way they dress or portray themselves to the world. I'm not getting like extreme conservatism, but like more modesty in the way the person dresses, if that makes sense. With protection, loyalty, safety, trust, you could be very protective over those you love, and you could also make them feel safe in a way, make them feel comforted. You know how to be there for others emotionally, but you also know how to set boundaries when it comes to your own emotional well-being of like, hey, you've been venting to me every day this week. Like, don't you think it's a little bit enough? Like that kind of energy where you know how to have boundaries for yourself as well. And you're a very trustworthy person. People feel like you're very honest. They can trust you. They can rely on you. They can count on you. If people need something from you, they know you'd be most likely to help them, or you'd be willing to help them out in some type of way without them even asking. So I'm also seeing this energy of your face always looking good, you always looking presentable in public. And even if there are those days where you don't put in that much effort into the way you look, most of the time you look good and you present yourself quite well. physically, because it's like you care about, how is this coming through, Spirit? Like, it's not that you care about other people's perception of you, but you more so care about the kind of image you're putting out to others, right? Where, let's say you're dressed up in a way where you look very put together, and it's not like you're dressed in a sloppy way. People can take you more seriously, especially in business. That's what I'm seeing. Or people can just take you more seriously in general, not even just with business. But let's see what else comes up. So, what are the demure and mindful qualities? We have the Hermit. So you are comfortable with being alone. You know how to be by yourself and be okay. You're very independent, like I said before. You don't need anybody to feel fulfilled or happy, but you do like that sense of community around you. But you also don't mind your own alone time. You're comfortable with yourself, safe within your own body, or you're trying to be. And I feel as well with the Hermit, you're very self-aware. You know yourself on a deep level, or you're getting to know yourself on a deep level. And that makes you demure and mindful. Being self-aware of our own actions makes you demure, makes you mindful, because there's something about like, okay, I know if I do this, that's wrong. I can learn from this mistake. Or I know if I have this quality that may be perceived as a flaw, I know I'm not perfect, but I can work on it and I can grow and I can improve. So that mindset you have is very beautiful and is very positive, and it allows for growth, but also self-accountability and checking ourselves when we go wrong. Not in a mean, self-inflicting pain kind of way, but more in a way of like, okay, here's where I need to improve, here's where I need to grow. And I also feel like a lot of you are comfortable with taking criticism from others, constructive criticism. We have the King of Swords reversed. Okay, we have the Chariot reversed. I'm hearing no stone is left unturned with you. I don't know what that means. The Six of Pentacles. And at the back of the deck, we have the Ace of Wands reversed. So this is what I said about like modesty. The Ace of Wands reversed can be like keeping our sexual energy to ourselves, if that makes sense. That's how I see the Ace of Wands reverse, or not really expressing it to the world so much. Now, there's nothing wrong with expressing your sexual energy. Everybody's just different and everybody has their own preferences, but I think a lot of people watching this pile like to be more modest in the way you dress. So with the Six of Pentacles, this confirms what I said about your generosity, about you being a very helpful person. People know they can count on you if they need to phone you at 2 a.m, or if they need your help. But like I said, you also have boundaries. You're not going to allow people to walk all over you and keep taking from you. You're a giver, but you also know how to pour back into yourself and give back to yourself, or you're learning to do that, right? I think that sometimes you experience such huge problems in your life that they make you almost question it so much. You may have a tendency to overthink, but you're trying to work on that. And even if you have perceived flaws, like I said, you are working on that, and that makes you demure and mindful. But there is this feeling here of like problems being so big that our mind can't compute what to do next. Our mind can't figure out how to solve whatever is going on here. And so I think because you've learned to calm down these worries, you learn to find inner peace. And even when the problem's so big, it seems like unsolvable, you still remain positive with the sun opposite that, and you still try to think positive thoughts, even if your mind doesn't believe it in the moment, because it does reshape your subconscious mind the more you do it. With the Chariot showing up reversed, I think that you have dealt with a lot of challenges in your life, but you've always overcome it. But there have been certain challenges in your life that you needed other people. Like I said before, this is a pile that is very independent and doesn't need anybody. But there have been times in your life where you did need somebody to help you out. And that makes you demure and mindful because you're mature enough to put your pride aside and know when to ask for help or know when to be open to receiving that support from other people. Because sometimes we can't go through problems alone. Sometimes we need other people to help us through that. But I feel like you found this wonderful balance where you know how to not rely on others too much, where it's sort of like you don't know how to do things for yourself, but you also know how to figure out problems on your own, and how to go to others for support. So that may sound contradictory, but I think it's because you've learned to find the balance there and you've learned which situation is appropriate for that. So now that I'm done looking at your cards, let's go ahead and look at your oracle cards. So I'm going to remove these cards. I'm also getting this energy that a lot of you could be very like humble in a way. There's a sense of humility with this pile. And it's not that you don't know your own value. There is a sense of confidence here within yourself that you've built over time. And I do feel like you've also released certain beliefs that held you back about yourself, that weren't in a positive light. You've released a lot of beliefs about yourself that put you down, right? And because you're able to have that balance of humility, yet also be confident within yourself without showing signs of ego, it makes you not more palatable to others, but more liked by others. Because I don't know if you've ever met someone that has like such a huge ego where they show it to the whole world. Sometimes they can be a little bit unlikable. I'm not trying to shade anybody, but that's just my honest opinion. And I feel like you know how to have that wonderful balance without putting yourself down, right? So that is what I'm getting from your energy. So my pile number ones, I also feel like a lot of you have dealt with people all your life, like stalkers, people that have tried to provoke you, people that have tried to project onto you, people that even try to tell you you are this when you know you're not that. And I feel like you've learned to not react to people over time. Maybe in the past you used to react, you used to crash out, but now you kind of learn to keep your reactions to yourself. You learn to process and regulate your own emotions without internalizing the behaviors of others, or you are actively learning to do that. And I think because you're learning to be more unbothered with what people say or think, or like how people even treat you, um, yet you act accordingly. If they're going to treat you bad, you're not going to keep them in your life because you have some level of self-love here and some level of boundaries up where you're not going to allow people to disrespect you, but you're also not going to give them the reaction they want, because some people intentionally try to provoke you to get a reaction out of you, to label you as the bad guy or the villain, when in fact they were actually taunting you or provoking that reaction out of you. Maybe some of you grew up around narcissists, because I totally relate to that thing I just spoke about, that I just channeled. So, Spirit Guides of Pile 1, what are the demure and mindful qualities? We have You Got the Love with Hadarian energy, codependency, boundaries. We just spoke about boundaries and relationships. We have Portal with doors are opening, you decide, rewards, wild card. And your last card is Perspective. With None of This Matters, zoom out, common ground. So I want to add on that thing I said about like other people treating you with disrespect. Sometimes you've learned to see things in a different perspective. You've learned to kind of zoom out from that and see the bigger picture of it. And you've learned to see the pain within their heart that maybe made them ugly in some way, where you don't need to react to it or internalize it anymore. Maybe some of you are working on that, or you've actively learned that and integrated that already, where you've been able to look at another person's perspective even another person's opinion that doesn't align with yours, and you're able to see how they came to that conclusion, where you're not judging them, but you understand where they're at on your journey. I mean, on their journey, not your journey. And you can see where the differences lie without, um, like, you know how to agree to disagree with certain people. You know how to see that, okay, if we have different opinions or different perspectives, it doesn't mean we have to fight. It just means we have different perspectives, and that's okay. So I feel like you're very mature. You've learned to sort of accept that other people are going to have different opinions or viewpoints than you, and that's okay. You know, that's what makes life so interesting, us having different viewpoints and being able to share those different perspectives with each other. Now, if someone isn't able to offer you the same respect that you offer them, you, like I said, know how to walk away from that situation or set a boundary for yourself without reacting or becoming or like stooping to their level, right? You know how to love people from afar when they aren't treating you right and just like let them go. But you also know how to give love to those around you in a way that feels safe and trustworthy. So, a lot of people in your life appreciate the love you give them, appreciate you being that safe, loyal person in their life that they can rely on and count on. And I also feel like even family members could see you this way. I feel like there's this balance between knowing how to depend on ourselves and knowing how to depend on others, like I spoke about before. And I think with the portal card, with doors are opening, you decide, you make decisions for your life that you know are going to open doors for you. Like I said, there's this balance between knowing when to take action and knowing when to rest. And you're the one creating your own reality. You're the one that's in control of a lot of the things happening. Some things are outside of your control, but a lot of the things are things that are within your control that you're focusing on. And you're focusing on taking action so that you can open doors for yourself, so that you can attract opportunities for yourself. You're looking out there and you're grabbing the opportunities instead of waiting for it to come to you and complaining that there's nothing out there. You're instead looking for it, and you're remaining open-minded and optimistic that things can change for the better, but you need to make those changes yourself in order for things to change, in order for doors to open. So you've been doing that. You haven't just been waiting for life to just hand you things on a silver platter. You've been actively deciding to put yourself out there, even to kind of just follow your heart in some way, or follow your desires or goals and actually take steps towards that. You've made huge changes in your life as a result of this, and you've opened huge doors for yourself, whether you realize it or not. That's why other people look at you as if you have your life together, because you're making decisions for your life that are going to actively improve your life, and that makes you demure and mindful. So this is what I have for you, pile number 1. I really hope this reading resonated with you. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how it resonated down below. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye! Hi there, my pile number 2s. If you chose this amethyst crystal and this card, then this is your reading. We're going to be taking a look at your demure and mindful qualities. So your card says, forge, don't follow, in the reverse, with pave a new path, be the leader you wish you had. So please be aware that this is a general reading. Only take or resonates, leave the rest. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, then please find my email address in the description box below. So I'm going to start out by shuffling your tarot cards. After that, we'll take a look at your oracle cards. But what I'm getting so far from this card already is that you have been on opposite sides of extremes for a lot of you, where you've been someone that has been rebellious, that has been a trendsetter, that has known how to forge your own path and go to the beat of your own drum without allowing others to sway your opinions or sway which path you should go on. And you've been trying to follow your own heart there and not let other people sway your decision making, and just kind of do what you want to do. be authentic to yourself. But then you've been rebelling in some sense on that spectrum, but then you've also been on the extreme side of the opposite spectrum. This pile may deal with a lot of extremes, scorpionic energy, 12th house energy, 8th house energy I'm feeling. So the other side of it was like following other people's rules, doing what other people say, following the steps of what other people have already made instead of trying to be innovative, just kind of following the methods of other people or being able to take inspiration from other people. So I also feel like at one point maybe you were the good girl or the good boy where you didn't want to break any rules, but then you've also been the rebel. And I feel like you're finding this middle kind of energy where you know how to not be in extremes, but kind of find the middle ground, if that makes sense. And it doesn't just have to be with this, but it can be with anything, with extremes in life. You've been learning to find the middle ground and not be on one extreme or the other extreme, and just find the middle. So that's what you're trying to do right now, or that's what you've already integrated, and that makes you demure and mindful. So let's go ahead and look at your cards. I'm also getting this energy of knowing how to deal with chaos without letting it get to you. You are the people in this pile that know how to stay calm within a storm and know how to calm other people within that same storm. Okay, you're also very non-judgmental. You understand that people are all different. Everybody has their own unique interests, likes. You're not going to bash anyone for being weird or different because you understand that everybody is different in their own way, and we don't need to judge or bash anybody. And even if someone's making a decision we wouldn't necessarily agree with, we can kind of try to have empathy for them, or try to look at this situation from their perspective and try to understand why they did what they did. Sometimes we will never understand, but that is okay. I feel like you're leading with this non-judgmental attitude, and that makes you very demure and mindful. We have the Magician, and I'm getting that a lot of people just feel comfortable telling you about themselves, telling you about their lives, telling you about things they wouldn't ever tell anybody because of this non-judgmental aura you radiate. You have the Magician here. I did mention that, sorry. But I feel like with the Devil next to that, maybe some of you have been in that place where you were making really bad decisions, but you turned your life around. Or some of you had like addictions you broke. Or some of you had people in your life that were manipulative and you broke free from that. There's something you broke free from that kept you suffocated and stuck in maybe more of a darker, more chaotic reality. But I feel like you thrive in chaos, and although that may not be the usual demure we think of, I feel like you know how to thrive during chaos, but also bring some kind of order to that chaos. And I feel like you're learning to become, how do I articulate this energy? Just bear with me. You're learning to become okay with no drama in your life. You're learning how to be at peace with no drama. Sometimes you could have been addicted to drama for some of you, where it's almost like that was your reality, but now you're learning how to like feel okay with being bored. Sometimes boring can be healthy, is what I'm hearing, and you're getting comfortable with that. Like, I'm seeing someone that maybe struggled with their relationship with food, where they maybe binge eat, and they're learning to maybe just listen to their body, not be too hard on themselves, treat themselves once in a while, but also give themselves something healthy to eat. Because I'm seeing someone that maybe overate a lot, and now they're trying to be more healthy and trying to look after their body. And sometimes that healthy food can be boring, but you're learning to love it. I'm seeing something about like changing around your life in some way, from chaos to more order, if that makes sense. Which is why it's coming through as Demure, because you took maybe a bad situation or an unideal situation in your life and you made the best out of it. That's why I said you thrive in chaos. Not that you want to be in chaos, but you know how to deal with it, right? You know how to get out of it. 7 of Wands. And you also have the 2 of Cups showing up reversed. So a lot of you had like toxic relationships in your life, or people in your life that just didn't have your best interest in mind. People that made you struggle to trust anyone. And your pile is very, trying to find the right word. When I mention these things, these things may seem outside of Demure and Mindful, but when we actually look at it carefully, like how I said, you maybe had an ideal situation in your life, but you learned how to turn that energy around for your betterment. That is you being Demure and Mindful, by being able to take a bad situation and turn it into something positive. So that's what I'm seeing. Maybe you learn to cut these people out of your life slowly but surely. Maybe you learn to separate yourself from them in some way, or distance yourself from them in some way. Maybe you've learned to be discerning with people. Trust your gut feelings. Trust your intuition more, without necessarily acting on it or judging, but kind of just waiting and seeing what happens. You've become more trusting of yourself and your own instincts and your own intuition. You've also become in touch with the magical side of you and also the more grounded side of you. And this pile is very intuitive. Like, you know how to connect to the higher realms, but you also know when to connect back to your humanness and the 3D world. So that makes you Demure and Mindful. I also get that you're a very soft person with a soft heart. You care a lot about animals. You care a lot about people. You're my pile of people where you'll cry when you see something sad, or you'll cry when you see an animal die on TV or something. That's the kind of energy you're giving off to me right now, that you care a lot about other people and animals and all the beings on this earth. You have a lot of empathy in your heart, and that makes you very Demure and Mindful. A lot of people, well, I've seen a lot of people that don't have empathy, and empathy is one of the most beautiful qualities and traits a person can have, in my opinion. It makes you seem like you have a very beautiful heart and you care a lot. You're breaking free of molds and restrictions people have maybe placed on you, or limitations people have placed on you as well. And that also makes you Demure and Mindful. And I'm also seeing something about my heart was broken and it shattered, but I put the pieces back together. I healed my heart. And I'm unafraid to show my emotions. I'm unafraid to show my empathy. I'm unafraid to show I care, because a lot of the times it's kind of praised to not care, to not want anybody, to not love. But you go outside of that. And that makes you Demure and Mindful, because you're showing people that it's okay to care. It's okay to feel. We don't have to pretend that we don't have that. What makes you Demure and Mindful is you're showing people a heart-centered way of living. You've even showed people that are a little bit more closed off how to love again. Because I'm hearing that song, How to Love, I think it's Lil Wayne, but I'm seeing it in a sense of like people that are closed off, or, you know, people that have grown up in situations where I love you wasn't said a lot. Hugs weren't given. Like, you've showed them that it's okay to open up and show affection and love. Okay, so you're someone that kind of like opens up people's hearts. You're very futuristic in some way. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you come from like a future timeline and you're here to kind of be that out of the box thinker that shows people a different way, but you're also here to take inspiration from other people that have maybe learned things that you haven't learned yet, or are maybe on a completely different journey than you. So that's what I'm getting here. And why does that make them demure and mindful spirits? Because you've learned to feel comfortable with your own authenticity without trying to mold or fit the narrative other people think you should be. You've learned how to be comfortable with expressing yourself the way you are without hiding who you are from the world. You've learned to accept yourself as you are, even the things that we may not always like. So that makes you demure and mindful, that self-acceptance, that comfortability within yourself, showing other people that it's okay to be your authentic self. I feel like you teach others spiritual lessons, you activate certain things within people, you inspire people. Okay, we have the Four of Pentacles. You have a huge impact on the world just being you energetically. The Four of Pentacles, the King of Cups, the Hangman reversed, and the Moon reversed. You know how to keep certain things private. You know how to be discerning of people. You trust your gut instincts when it comes to people because it's very on point. You may not have always had this trust within yourself, but you've cultivated that for yourself. I'm also hearing that you believe positive things about yourself right now, or you're actively trying to. Like, I'm hearing I'm capable, I am loved, I am worthy. Maybe you're saying a lot of affirmations to yourself, or trying to change your own self-image or self-belief. And that makes you demure and mindful, learning to see that you are capable, having a positive self-talk, rooted in self-love. So with the Moon reverse, you also know how to keep certain things private, but you also know how to be vulnerable about certain things. So you know when to not speak about a certain situation because it wouldn't be beneficial for you or other people to know about this, but you also know what things are meant to stay private and what things are meant to be shared. So it's not like you're hiding parts of yourself, you're authentically showing yourself, but you also know how to match people's energies. For example, I have a very, very Christian conservative mother, and I know that I can't talk to her about horror movies, even though I really loved horror movies as a child, because I know she was going to give me a whole lecture. And it's not like I'm hiding my authentic self around her, but I'm sort of learning how to approach her. With other people in my life, I can show different sides of me because I know that it's not like they're not going to judge, but I know that they're comfortable with those sides of me. But around other people, I know I can't show those sides of me. And it's not like I'm being two-faced or hiding parts of myself, but more so adapting to people. Adapting to where people are at their level. If I know someone in my life is very stubborn and won't see things from a different perspective, I'm not going to try to change their perspective. You know what I mean? I'm just going to accept them as they are, understand that that's how they are, you know what I mean? And not try to change them. I'm getting that even when people show certain flaws about themselves, you know how to accept it within them. But there are certain people you've had in your life where maybe it just wasn't working out. Like you couldn't see eye to eye, and you also know how to separate yourself from people like that to protect and maintain your own peace. So that's a very beautiful thing you have going on, where you know when it's okay to accept a certain flaw or trait, character trait of theirs, but also when to pull away when it's becoming unhealthy for us to be in that connection. You're very comfortable with your own emotions. You know how to regulate your own emotions. You know how to express raw, vulnerable feelings like anger in a healthy way. And you also know how to process that and when to let go of it. But you also know that some things take longer to let go of, and there is a sense of self-acceptance with this pile. Like, okay, I know this trauma I went through was so big that it's going to take time for me to heal. I'm not going to be hard on myself like, oh, I need to let go of this or whatever. So I'm seeing that type of energy here. I'm also seeing a certain type of patience when it comes to people, but also when it comes to certain situations in your life. So I'm seeing an example of, let's say you have a friend that is really bad at maths, and this friend asks you to tutor them, and they keep getting the answer wrong, but you're patient enough to explain it to them again. Or let's say someone is struggling to understand English and you have to explain something to them 3 times before they can understand what you mean. You have the patience to be able to do that. So I'm seeing a certain amount of patience here with this pile. And with the Two of Pentacles at the back of the deck, this is confirming what we said before, learning to find the middle ground between two extremes. So for example, I mentioned healthy eating. For example, some of you are learning to find balance there, where it's like, I'm not over excessively indulging in pleasurable foods that are maybe bad for me, but I'm also not restricting myself to the point where I have to go to that. I'm kind of trying to find the middle ground where once in a while I spoil myself. Maybe I know how to set boundaries with myself and have self-discipline and self-control, but I also know when to treat myself and when to just be easy on myself, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm also hearing self-discipline, self-control. Like, that's something you're learning to work through or have. So I heard that this pile is very unconventional, and you don't think you're superior to others either. There's something about you just like learning to be comfortable with yourself, like I said before, or just being comfortable with your unconventionality, if that makes sense. I'm seeing that. So spirit guides of pile number 2. Spirit guides of pile number 2. What makes pile number 2 demure and mindful? What are the demure and mindful qualities? So we have lost lands in the reverse with soul memories and gifts. You've done this before. We have Earth in the reverse with learning how to be human in the world but not of it. And we have trust the timing in the reverse with trust the time you came on in, time is not running out. Although sometimes things in your life have taken really slow, like certain goals you wanted to achieve, or let's say you were wishing for love at one point and it took really long to come into your life, or something like that where your path has been kind of slow, but you've learned to accept the timing of it. You've learned to accept that Rome wasn't built in a day. For example, I keep seeing like fitness and health. Someone here is trying to improve their own health and maybe transform their body in some way, the way their body looks in the gym. And there's nothing wrong with improvement as long as we're not like actively judging ourselves or hating ourselves to make that change. But I think change can be good if it's coming from an empowered place. And I feel like you've learned to see that, okay, maybe it's going to take me months to get my dream body or years to get my dream body, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking the long road, putting in the work instead of taking the easy route out. Some of you have very strong values and you've looked at certain people where maybe they're like thieves or scammers and they make so much money. And you've questioned, why are bad people the most rich or successful? And you've thought, okay, if I had to do that, I would get caught within a day. And it's like you've learned to not take the easy way out in life and almost take the hard but long way, but the way that's going to take the way that the path that is going to give the most long-term results and the most fulfilling results. And you've learned to be comfortable with that. And you know that, okay, maybe you don't have the morals of someone like that, but you can create your own success. It might just take a little bit longer because you're doing things the right way. You're not taking shortcuts. That's what I want to say here. Again, patience with this card. Now, with Earth in reverse, you know that you're not from here. This may be my pile of starseeds, mystics, people that are kind of like ethereal, out of this world. You're very strongly spiritually gifted, and you've become comfortable with sharing your gifts with others or sharing your gifts with the world. A lot of these gifts you have come from past lives. There's also this comfortability within sharing your beliefs or your spirituality with others in some way. And I feel like you've just become okay with being different. You've become okay with not fitting in because you're meant to stand out. And although we might not think of Demure and Mindful as standing out, I feel like it's that comfortability within that self-expression where you're not afraid of what other people say or think. You're just being you. That's what makes you Demure and Mindful. The fact that you're not hiding yourself to please others or to fit in, that's what makes you Demure and Mindful. And like I said, although we might not think of that as Demure and Mindful, it is coming through here within your cards. There is also something about knowing that sometimes in order to get to a certain goal, we need to take repetitive actions. Sometimes it can be really boring. Going back to the example of going to the gym every morning, sometimes we don't feel like it. It can feel repetitive. But we can find ways to switch it up. We can find ways to create a routine for us that works for us and not necessarily trying to fit a routine that works for other people. Because, for example, I know that I'm not a morning person. And if I had to force myself to wake up at 5 in the morning, I just wouldn't be able to. So I schedule my own schedule tailored to me. So some of you are doing that at the moment, or you have done that for yourself, where you just know yourself and you work with you instead of against you. And that's what I'm picking up on here. You also smell really good and you look very good. There's a sense of like you almost being like a peacock, where you've learned to shine and show off your feathers, if that makes sense, without being cocky or without showing off too much, but just being comfortable within yourself. And that message keeps coming up within your pile, so I feel like it's emphasized. That is where I'm going to leave your reading. I really hope this reading resonated with you. Let me know how it resonated down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye! Hi there, my polymer threes. If you chose this rose quartz crystal and this card, then this is your reading. We're going to be taking a look at your demure and mindful qualities. So your card says, I'm sorry, with defensiveness, riding past wrongs, and uprooting. So please be aware that this is a general reading. Only take what resonates, leave the rest. And if you'd like to book a personal reading with me, then please find my email address in the description box below. So with this card, I see that you're able to take accountability for your own wrongdoings. When you do something wrong or out of character, you know how to apologize, say sorry, and just kind of make up for whatever you've done wrong. But you also know how to hold other people accountable when they're doing something wrong to you. There is a certain level of self-respect when it comes to this pile, and acknowledgement that you're not perfect, but you're human. You may make mistakes. You may do things wrong. You may do things out of character, but there is also a sense of self-forgiveness here, or you're trying to forgive yourself for maybe things that no longer aligned to the version of you now, where you wouldn't do that right now, but maybe you know how to have self-compassion and self-forgiveness, where you know that you did that thing out of a place of survival at the time, or that's what you knew best at the time. So you've learned to kind of find that sense of self-forgiveness and self-compassion, the same way we give grace to others when other people mess up. You know how to give grace to people without becoming like the type of person that just accepts other people's behavior, where you know how to hold people accountable for their own actions, but also give them grace at the same time. But you also know when to put your foot down, where you've given them grace, where they've apologized, but they haven't changed. So you don't accept apologies without change. And that is what makes you demure and mindful. Again, that sense of self-respect, but also respect for other people. I'm also getting something about your look has become demure and mindful. Now, this won't resonate with everybody, but what I am seeing here is something about your look. I'm seeing that some of you could have had a certain transformation to the way that you look, where it's become more demure in some way. And now what I'm about to say, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm just giving the message. So this is not for everybody, but like I'm seeing those TikToks where it's like, I had eyelash blindness, or I had blush blindness, or I was like putting in a lot of filler, and there's nothing wrong with filler, but maybe it was like excessive. And then toning it down to look more sort of not put together, but harmonious. Like there's more of a harmonious look now, if that makes sense. And it's not that you're not into like expressing yourself or anything like that, but I feel like you're just learning what works for you. Whereas for others of you, it could be like maybe you didn't know how to like match certain clothing beforehand and you learned how to do it. Maybe you didn't know how to style your curly hair and it was quite frizzy before for someone here, and you learned how to work with your hair type. Something about your look transforming to become more harmonious and more beautiful over time, or more handsome over time, but kind of matching everything. Maybe you have some kind of attention to detail when it comes to outfit coordination even. I am seeing that. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull your tarot cards first. Then we're going to get your oracle cards after that. So I'm getting some of you have been doing habits that are good for you, like journaling, taking social media breaks, etc. But I'm also hearing that you've matured over time. You've become more graceful over time. And I'm hearing a specific TikTok. I don't know why. I don't know if some of you are like online a lot, but like I'm hearing a specific TikTok where it goes like, or an Instagram reel where it goes like, that's not fair. No, wait, let me calm down. I'm an adult, or something like that. So I feel like you know how to control your reactions to certain things. Like even if you react immediately, like you know how to like take a step back and be kind of rooted, and be an adult and be more mature about your reaction to certain things. So that is what I see here. You've also learned how to not like get in the middle of drama and gossip. 8 of Pentacles reversed. We have the World. We have the 5 of Wands reversed. And we have the Hierophant. So a lot of you started out at this point where you felt so bad to call anybody out. You felt so afraid of like using your own voice, with the Queen of Swords popping out reversed and the 5 of Wands reversed. Maybe a lot of you were afraid of conflict. And then at some point you learned how to speak up for yourself. You learned how to hold other people accountable for their own actions or their own behavior or words. And you've learned how to communicate and have difficult conversations with people, triggering conversations where it may lead to a conflict. But you've learned to become comfortable with conflict, not to the point where you're actively seeking out conflict with other people, but I feel like you've learned to see a different perspective about conflict with the Hierophant here. And you now see conflict in a very neutral way, where it's not good or bad, but it's more so something that allows us to express our emotions in the moment, our unspoken thoughts, words that were maybe left unsaid, unresolved feelings like anger or sadness or disappointment. And it allows us to communicate that and resolve things with that person. However, when it becomes bad is when we don't know how to take accountability, when we don't know how to say sorry, when we just go around in circles, when we blame the other person, when we can't agree on something or compromise. That's when it becomes toxic. When two people are constantly going at each other, that's when it becomes toxic. But there can be some kind of healthy conflicts in some relationships, and I feel like you've learned to become okay with that, become okay with like sort of advocating for yourself. I am now seeing Cupid's arrow being shot at someone, them having like heart eyes for you, puppy dog eyes for you, almost like wanting you so badly. But then now I see a vision of is it her? I think it's her, from Clueless. And she's basically like, ew, get off me, or something like that. Or ew, as if. So I'm seeing that in my mind's eye. And I know we wouldn't necessarily consider that as demure or mindful. I feel like you've learned to have high standards for yourself. And that's what makes you demure and mindful. Like you've learned to not just accept the bare minimum, or to just say, okay, I'm giving this person a chance even though I don't really want them. Like you've learned to become okay with like hiring your standards and hiring the bar for yourself, not just when it comes to romantic connections, but platonic ones too. You have a lot of people crushing on you, but because you have a certain amount of self-respect, you're not just going to allow anyone around you. Now, going back to conflict may not be seen as demure or mindful, but you know how to handle it with respect and maturity. And you know how to go back from that conflict into saying, I'm sorry, like, can we make it up to each other? And yeah, like you know how to find harmony and balance after that, after calling someone out. And it's demure and mindful for you because maybe you used to be a people pleaser and it was not empowering for you. And now you've changed that energy around. You've learned that lesson when it comes to the Hierophant here. The Hierophant can talk about learning lessons. So I feel like you've had a lot of harsh lessons in your life, but you've learned from it. You've taken an opportunity from maybe challenging or hard situations in your life where you felt like you couldn't get through it, and you learned from it. You took some kind of like wisdom from those bad situations or painful situations in your life. And that makes you demure and mindful, the ability to take wisdom from maybe difficult situations in our life. With the World, you've learned to release and let go. Let go of certain things that are just not serving us anymore, like certain relationships with people that are just toxic for us, that don't want to apologize, that don't want to take accountability. Sometimes in certain relationships, we can work on ourselves and the other person isn't working on themselves, and we can outgrow them, and that is okay. And I feel like you've learned to be okay with the fact that you may outgrow certain people, and some people are just in your life for a chapter. Some people are in your life to teach you harsh lessons and then leave your life after that. But I feel like you've learned to not tolerate disrespect and toxic relationships and just let go of them because they're not healthy for you. And you've learned to see that, okay, I've worked on myself to a certain level, but this person's not working on themselves and they keep doing the same thing over and over. So I'm just going to let go of them and not give them another chance because they're not trying to work on themselves. It's not like you're blaming people, because you are working on yourself. But you're also not looking at situations like, oh, this person needs to change, this person needs to change. You're approaching the situation differently, and you're looking to grow first, instead of blaming the other person. But you also know when to take a step back and look at the situation like, I've been mature about this, I've been honest, I've been whatever, and this person hasn't given me that same respect, so I know when to walk away. But there is also this energy with that. Certain people are just bringing so much drama and toxicity in my life that I just don't want to be around them anymore. And that is okay. It doesn't mean I don't love them. It doesn't mean I hate them or I don't care for them. But I'm putting me first. That's the energy I feel. And it may be hard to say I'm putting me first because I felt this shaky energy in my voice as I said that. So maybe you're also like learning to put yourself first, even if it feels uncomfortable. And you're learning to get outside of your comfort zone and do things for you that help you grow as a person, even if it feels uncomfortable, because growth can be uncomfortable, and growth can be getting outside of our own comfort zone and getting out of our own way. You've also learned to see where you are holding yourself back, and not where to just blame other people, but look at ourselves and just check ourselves and say, okay, I've not been on top of things here. I need to work on this. And not being hard on yourself, but just learning to do better, if that makes sense. So I'm getting free-spirited energy from this pile. 3 of Cups reversed. Okay. The Knight of Wands. I'm hearing that song that goes like, I need a hero when I look at this card with Hercules in it. That song that plays in Shrek that's like, I need a hero. I don't know who sings it, but I know it's from Shrek. But anyways, maybe not from Shrek, but it plays in Shrek. Anyways, I feel like you've had certain people in your life where you've been the fixer. You've been Bob the Builder to these people, right? And you've tried to like be there for them and help them and fix them and give them grace, but some people just don't want to work on themselves. Some people just don't want to grow. Some people will hear you and just not listen to you, you know? And that's their choice. They are choosing to stay stuck in the same place. You see the best in them. You just want them to grow. You may sometimes push people a little bit to grow, but you're learning to look at your own life and see where you need to fix things within your own life instead of being Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Fixer for everybody else's life. That's what I'm getting. Like you're being a hero to yourself instead of for others, unless others ask for it and want to take your advice and appreciate it, you know? Because I feel like you give really good advice, but maybe some people just don't take it. And I think you're learning to not take that personally. Some people just, they have reasons for maybe why they stay stuck at the same level. Maybe it's they're comfortable there. Maybe they're afraid of change. You know, we never know why people do the things they do, but I feel like you've just learned to look at your own life and use that for yourself, if that makes sense. That ability to fix things or problem solve. You have that problem solving ability and the ability to help, but you've learned to help yourself first. 9 of Swords, okay. And we have the Tower in the reverse. That problem-solving skill is so strong that you can even see problems before they happen. Problems before they become a problem. And you can use this within your career if you want to. It doesn't mean you have to do this as a profession, but you can use this within your career. You can use this within areas of your life that are challenging. And it's going to help you thrive. Okay? And if you're already doing that, then that's confirmation to continue doing that for yourself. There were certain times in your life where you felt like I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what decision I wanted to make. And you felt very like worried about, okay, if I make this decision, will it be like this or will it be like this? And you were kind of afraid of like the outcome or the worst case scenario. And you always felt like this back and forth, like, should I do this or should I do this first? And I think there has been some kind of growth where you've been learning to trust yourself more and follow your own inner passions of what lights you up. So let's say I am making a decision of should I eat an apple or orange? And I'm so confused about this decision. I know that's a silly example, but I'm just using something small and simple. And I think about the apple and I'm just like, meh. But then I think about the orange and I'm like, ooh. And then I know the orange is the right choice. So I'm seeing a lot of manifester generators in this pile where it's like you've been learning to follow that pleasure, that passion of yours and kind of just make the decision and trust yourself without worrying too much about the outcome. And because you've learned to trust yourself more over time, even if it's sometimes hard to make decisions, it's like over time you learn about yourself more and you learn what you like, what you don't like. You learn who you are and what you want out of life. And then it becomes easier making those decisions. And even if we make the wrong decision, it's okay. We can always work on that or fix that later. You know, it doesn't have to be as catastrophic as we think it is. So I feel like there's this energy of like, I'm learning to calm my worries down, calm my anxieties down about the future. Just be present in the moment, not think about the past, not think about the future. And just be here now. So that is what I have for the tarot section. That is your demure and mindful qualities. Let's see the oracle cards. So I did hear something before I started your pile. I forgot to mention it, but now Spirit just reminded me. So this is what I heard. I heard Delulu is not Trelulu or something like that. So I feel like you've learned to get out of a fantasy world and you've learned to see things in more of a grounded way that makes sense to your reality. Like you've learned to see the world with more realism without being pessimistic about it or without being anxious about it. And it's not about like looking at a situation with rose-colored glasses. It's about taking the rose-colored glasses off and looking at the situation clearly. When it comes to people, this could be like seeing red flags within people, but also seeing the best within them and seeing their potential and, you know, wanting them to become that potential. But sometimes people don't always choose to become that. And then we can fall in love with their potential. The reason I say that is because I'm clairvoyantly seeing Megan Fox's interview where she talks about like falling in love with MGK's potential. I think it was about him, but I'm not really sure. And so that's why I say that, like, you've learned to take off the rose-colored glasses and see people for who they are and who they're actively choosing to be in the moment. But you also know how to give grace to people where you can see they're trying to grow, where you can see that they're trying their best. So that's what I'm seeing here. But also when it comes to realism, you've learned to become more realistic with things without becoming pessimistic. So say you have, I don't know, something you want to achieve. Being realistic with yourself would be like, okay, I know I need to put in work to achieve this. It's not just going to happen for me if I don't put in the work. That's an example of the energy. That's what I'm seeing here, but mainly to do with relationships. Okay. I'm also seeing something about calming the nervous system, healing the nervous system, being a good judge of character. I'm seeing something about like, sometimes you see problems that seem unmanageable in your life. Even when you get knocked down by life and you kind of fall or you make a mistake, you might be at the bottom in the moment and you might be on the ground in the moment, like crying over the situation or complaining about the situation, but then you always pick yourself back up and dust yourself off and try again, is what I'm hearing from Spirit. That reminds me of that one song. But that's what I'm hearing from Spirit. We have big picture thinking with Pleiades energy, visionary and inspired ideas. Now, this kind of sounds contradictory to what I said about being realistic, but I think you're trying to see where you can be more of this big picture thinking person of seeing the potential with something, using your visionary qualities to follow your inspiring ideas that may seem out of the ordinary or may seem almost impossible to achieve. But I think you're taking realistic steps towards those goals without putting too much pressure on yourself to achieve everything in one day. So that's how I'm seeing the big picture thinking card with what I said before. We have empathetic starseed in the reverse with energetic sovereignty and absorbing what's not yours. I said observing by accident. So maybe you are someone that observes without reacting first or without saying anything, and you kind of just observe the situation for what it is. But what I feel from this card is you've always been this like overly empathetic person, where, like I said, you see the best in people, you see the potential within people, you give people a lot of grace, you tolerate a lot. But you've also learned to know when to stop condoning bad behavior out of the name of empathy. Or looking at a situation where someone treats us badly and we feel bad for saying something to them. Instead, we're just going to say it because they don't feel bad for hurting our feelings. It's kind of like you've learned to switch off the empathy at times where it's needed and turn it back on when it is needed. I hope I'm making sense. So it's not like you're being unempathetic or not caring about the world or anything, but you know how to flip that switch. So if someone's being rude or disrespectful towards you, of course you maybe have empathy for them where you can see where it comes from, but you're not going to engage in that toxic behavior, and you're not going to allow them to treat you with disrespect just because they went through trauma or they're hurt in some way or they had a bad day. Just because they had a bad day doesn't excuse them putting that bad energy on you or putting their stress on you or their anger on you just because they had a bad day. So I think you learn to separate when empathy is needed in certain situations and when you need to almost just be strong and what's the word? Assertive. Okay. And some people might not like that at first. They might feel called out with the cold card. That's what I'm hearing, called out. But that is okay. Some people might even see you as rigid with your boundaries at first because they're so used to you not having boundaries. But because you're not allowing that ugly behavior to continue, you're putting a stop to it. And that's what's most important here. Also, you've learned to not surround yourself with people that are constantly trying to bring you down or insult you as well. So the card is called with soul gifts and training. It's time to step up reversed. So what is this card about, Spirit? Show me. Okay, I get it. So this is less about soul gifts, but a lot of you could have some kind of spiritual gift you feel called to use. But I'm getting that sometimes you feel called to do things in a certain way, but you don't exactly understand why yet. And you've learned to be private with that information of what you're going to do next. So say you feel called to release a song or to write a book or to upload a video and you have no idea why, but you feel called to do it. You're not telling people what you're going to do. You're not telling people your whole plan, but you're instead just going after it in silence. Winning in silence. Maybe a lot of you have had like a lot of jealous, envious people around and you don't want their jealous negativity, evil eye infiltrating you. So there's also something about your home. Maybe a lot of you like to move your furniture around when you feel called to feng shui, where you're kind of just moving the energy around. Or maybe a lot of you like to keep your home neat and tidy and organized, and that's what you feel called to do. Or maybe some of you feel called to make your home like minimalist or maximalist. Whatever you feel called to do, you're doing it, but you're not necessarily trying to prove to the whole world that you can do it, and you're not necessarily like telling everybody your plans. But if people want to see, they can see. That's what I'm getting from this card, and that's what makes you demure and mindful. Because let's say you're planning on putting a song out there, for example. You're not bragging to everybody about how good the song is. You're not like all bark and um no walk, if that makes sense. Like, you let your work show for itself, if that makes sense. Or you let whatever project you're working on show for itself. It's not like you have to go and brag about it to seem good or to seem talented or to seem whatever. So that's what I'm getting from that card. So I'm also seeing someone say, this is the vision I'm seeing, your last vision. Someone look outside at the rain and say, it's raining, it's beautiful. And then the next day, it's sunny, it's beautiful. So you've learned to accept all walks of life. You've learned to accept that some days are good, some days are bad. And we can learn to see the appreciation in the good and the bad moments, because it all shows us something about life. Life isn't always good. Life isn't always happy. Things are temporary, but that's okay. Just like pain is temporary, happiness is temporary too. And there's a feeling of seeing the beauty within that, within the cycles of life. So that is what I have for you. I really hope this reading resonated with you. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how this resonated down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye!